3 plot twists in one chapter? That's nuts. But that's what we're going with. Ever since we left Wano, One Piece has just kept getting faster. The fighting is escalating and spreading beyond Egghead. Let's get to it. We open One Piece chapter 1071 back out at sea, with a lonely Bartholomew Kuma flying over the ocean. We get a whoosh sound effect as Kuma finally draws close to his destination. And surprisingly, it's not Egghead Island. No one saw that coming. We all assumed Kuma had been activated as part of Vegapunk's defenses, but apparently that wasn't the case. Something very big is coming into view, with 5 massive dots in a cross above what seems to be a small town. It's been a while since we paid this place a visit, but this is Red Port, the settlement at the base of the Red Line that travelers come through on the way to Mary Joy's. The elevators are located here. Even this far out, you can make out the small lines and the Great Rock surface where the cables run. Kuma dips his head, carrying on regardless, and he doesn't touch down smoothly. Instead, he impacts with a mighty blast above Red Port proper. The elevator cables twist and curl away from the blast. Judging by the angle, it looks like Kuma fired himself right at the Red Line. Was he trying to reach Mary Joy's? Take out an elevator? Punch through? Either way, the inhabitants of the port are screaming in fear. The streets are wreathed in smoke as the cry goes up. Bartholomew Kuma has arrived. The townsfolk are about as confused as we all are. Why has Kuma come back to world government territory? The smoke of the explosion slowly clears, and as it does, we see the original pacifista laid out on the ground. The onlookers are gaping. He's supposed to be invincible, but also a slave of the Celestial Dragons, right? Coming into that port and blowing things up doesn't sound like slave behavior. A Marine officer finally chimes in over the PA system just as Kuma starts to regain consciousness. The announcer orders troops to seal off Northeast Red Port even as the civilians start to run away from the terrifying figure lumbering to its feet over them. He may be injured and gasping for breath, but the sheer size of Kuma is intimidating enough. The announcer makes it clear that his arrival point is indeed right by the Bondola Gate. The Marines are rallying to the former warlord's location, while civilians are ordered to evacuate immediately. The Marine on the comm calls Kuma extremely dangerous, entirely devoid of humanity, and lets slip some interesting information. Kuma's current purpose and programming are unknown, even to the Navy. While the 5 Elder Stars keep things to themselves, they would have probably said something to the officers on gate duty that this was just Kuma the slave returning to Mary Joa as part of his programming. This wasn't part of their plan. While that still leaves what Kuma's actually going to do ambiguous, we leave him staring up at the sign of the world government, the power he hated so much in life. Whatever's about to happen next is not going to be good news for the Marines of Red Port. And while those Marines are trying to keep Kuma out, another bunch of Marines are struggling to keep a fugitive in. Over on Egghead, Lucci is barking orders at the Cypher Pole armsmen. They're to lock down whatever escape routes they can find. He also wants them to head to the harbor. Any ships still in dock are to be destroyed immediately. They can make sure Vegapunk doesn't leave the island at least. The agents are ready to oblige, sprinting off with guns at the ready. Even these guys can blow up unaccompanied ships, and it's probably less dangerous than standing next to Rob Lucci and his friends. With their underlings gone, the CP0 agents are left alone to ponder their situation. Lucci's annoyed. Even with the Seraphim under control, the Frontier Dome is basically an impassable barrier. For once, they're running into a problem they can't simply punch through, and the Leopard Man is irritated by the challenge. Kaku's more appreciative, gazing up at the marvel of technology. He really doesn't hold a grudge considering the dome fried him the last time he tried to go through it. Good on Kaku for respecting the craft. Stussy looks at Lucci curious. He's very determined to keep on attacking, no matter what their orders say. She doesn't ask why, but it's clear she's curious about what is driving her fellow agent. Lucci mutters that he refuses to accept Straw Hat Luffy as an Emperor of the Sea. As long as he denies reality and doesn't accept Luffy as a Yonko, he doesn't have to wait for Navy headquarters to approve or assist them. He can just go in and wipe out the one stand on his record without waiting for help. Stussy gently roasts Lucci, calling the Pigeon Man hopeless as we move up to the control room, checking in with the Vegapunks. The 6 remaining paths of Punk aren't doing so well. Vegapunk Shaka knows that the agents are working to control every way off of Egghead. They'll have probably scuppered every ship left in harbor by this point. They still have a way out thanks to Vega Force 1 and the Thousand Sunny, but with the enemy watching the ports, they're still in trouble. Vega Force 1 can only fly on the island, so it can't get the Sunny out to sea. Even Shaka has to respect the enemy's competence, they're in a bad situation. Vegapunk Lilith is actually happy to hear that, raising a massive science fiction gun. That means this is going to be a fight, and she's all too excited to avenge Atlas and take out some CP0 agents. Shaka shuts down that idea, while Pythagoras points out that Cypher Pole shouldn't be able to reach them up in the lab stratum. They aren't in danger just yet. The original Vegapunk seems nervous at the prospect of having to fight their way past CP0. York and Edison aren't even focusing on their situations, sticking with eating and inventing respectively. Poor Shaka is just radiating "I'm surrounded by fools" energy at this point. It's hard to blame him. He's very much the same as the normal one in this quirky family. Still, Lilith is not just accepting her older brother's words, asking him straight up, why can't they fight back? CP0 is trying to kill them all. If ever there was a time that some necessary evil was justified, it's now. They should throw all the weapons they can down at the factory layer now that it has been evacuated. Shaka is composed and coldly logical. As far as he's concerned, taking out CP0 is simply not their objective. Avenging Punk Atlas doesn't matter to him. The only thing they have to do is get the original Vegapunk off the island. The satellites are expendable as far as he's concerned, including himself. Shaka's not directly concerned about Lilith dying, but her going down there trying to get a bit of revenge on CP0 wouldn't help them get the Stella body out of here. And losing her will rob them of some resources they could use to accomplish their actual goal. Interestingly, Grandpa Vegapunk seems uncomfortable with the idea of the satellites considering themselves as expendable. Lilith accepts it unquestionably, even calling Shaka a goody-goody for standing by the point. But the original Vegapunk doesn't want these satellites to die saving him? Is there more to their existence that he is not telling us? He's already worried about Sentomaru, sweating at the prospect of his loyal bodyguard in CP0's hands. While he's fretting about that, however, Pythagoras has an interesting question. Apparently, Team Vegapunk has another ally on Egghead Island. Someone they haven't asked to assist them so far. Should they do so now? It would seem like a no-brainer at this point, but Punk Edison objects to the idea. The little guy is worried that asking this mysterious ally to step in would put them at risk. He notes that this strange figure would have nowhere left to hide if they are in the world government sights. This is intriguing. There's someone else on Egghead Island hiding from the world government. Someone Vegapunk trusted to live with them who might have the power to help the Punks escape CP0's attack. And someone the Vegapunks believe would want to fight the world government to help them. Regardless, the Stella body isn't letting politeness hold him back. He's immediately talking to this mystery person over Denden Mushi, practically begging them to save him. Edison and Pythagoras are astounded by their creator's utter shamelessness in asking someone to put themselves in harm's way like that. Still, the mystery ally doesn't seem offended. Instead, they claim they have always been ready for this order and sound pretty calm about it. Interesting choice of words. Order. Could that be a hint as to this person's identity? Someone used to obeying other people's commands. There aren't a lot of easy options already established that could fit these criteria. A lot of fans are speculating that this might be Stussy, given the cover page of chapter 1071 featuring a shot of Mads that seems to include her. But how could Stussy have taken a call like this while standing right next to the other members of CP0? Judge and Caesar shouldn't be on the island. How many old allies does Vegapunk have? Regardless, that's enough for the Stella body. The old man hangs up the Denden Mushi, jumping for joy. He's convinced this mystery ally can be counted on to save them all. Edison also vaults upward, full of glee. As far as the little punk's concerned, everything's come out perfectly. Their progenitor has secured passage on the Thousand Sunny. CP0 will be kept busy by the mysterious ally. It's all coming together. Lilith holsters a rifle. This isn't her preferred plan, but she won't argue with it. She's happy to get her family out to port with the Vega Force 1 while Cypher Pole is distracted. Shaka approves of that idea, prompting Lilith to object to him acting like he's in charge. These guys radiate so much sibling energy, bickering even when they agree on what to do. They seem much more like family than facets of the same person. Everything now settled, Vegapunk Stella heads over to the lounge while the Straw Hats are waiting, announcing that they are all packed. As such, he'd like them to take all 7 Vegapunks to the Sunny. This is not something the Straw Hats were ready for. Usopp gapes at the idea of all these quirky scientists boarding the Sunny, and Nami mutters that it sounds like a pain. Still, their fellow crew members seem more positive. Sanji was just happy to have his legs free. Now that he knows Lilith is going to be joining them on the Sunny for a while, he's over the moon. And Frankie, surprise surprise, is just as enthusiastic at the idea of having 7 different incarnations of his mentor travel with him aboard the Sunny. It's gotta be like heaven for him. Unfortunately, Luffy and Chopper are having a much less enjoyable time. Elsewhere in the lab, they're currently trying to chase down Bonnie, racing through the corridors to keep up with her. Interestingly, they pass an area marked Bay 7. Confirmation that all 7 of the original Shichibukai were included in the Seraphim program? It doesn't match the design of the Seraphim tank room we saw earlier, but it is potentially worth noting regardless. Unfortunately, Luffy and Chopper don't have time to take in the scenery. They're busy trying to keep up with the furious Bonnie, who is yelling about that cowardly Vegapunk. As far as the Pirate Princess is concerned, using bugs against her is a new low. Luffy protests that he promised to get the old man off of Egghead in one piece. That might not be the one piece he's looking for, but he still gave his word, so Bonnie can't beat him up. Before the Straw Hats can catch up with her, however, a loud beep echoes through the Labo phase. All over Egghead Island, a pre-recorded message plays over the PA, blaring in a harsh metallic voice. Labo Stratum Frontier Dome defenses are now offline. The Frontier Dome is offline. The Frontier Dome is offline. The message repeats itself again and again, like it's rubbing salt in the wound. All the remaining Vegapunks simply stand there, stunned. What just happened? Who disabled the dome? Why? Their one impenetrable defense against Cypher Pole has just vanished for no apparent reason. No amount of scientific genius can protect you from a plot twist. Lilith snarls at Pythagoras, asking if someone is in the control room. That's the obvious answer. Some kind of saboteur who lowered the defenses to help Cypher Pole. The big guy checks a screen before confirming, no. According to the sensors, no one's there. He can't explain this. Could Vegapunk's new ally be less than loyal? They're the only other person we know of on the island. Perhaps they thought the Navy would be a better bet than the pirates. On the ground, we see CP0. Surprisingly, they seem just as confused as the Vegapunks are by this announcement. This wasn't some plan from the 3 of them. Kaku is ready to jump back up there regardless, happy to take this chance to accomplish their mission. Surprisingly, it's Rob who holds the team back. As much as he wants to take down the Straw Hats, Lucci's no fool. Logically, this should be a trap. The malfunction's timing is far too convenient for them. If they all get zapped by the dome, that could give the Straw Hats a chance to get Vegapunk out of there. Stussy looks on, silent for the moment. If this was her work, she's not taking credit for it. But she doesn't take a side between going up or staying put. Ultimately, bravery wins out over fear for the assassin trio. The Cypher Pole agents launch themselves upwards via Geppo, taking in the cloud layer of Egghead Island as they rise above the dome. Kaku is excited. This actually worked. Lucci is more somber, recognizing that they seem to have penetrated an impenetrable barrier through pure blind luck. Given his focus on personal skill, a victory won like this must be bittersweet. He muses to himself, for this to happen with their life at stake, the heavens have abandoned you, Vegapunk. While he likely meant it in a more spiritual sense, given CP0's status as agents of the Celestial Dragons and the fact that the Frontier Dome was cloud-based, it's an impressive bit of triple meaning. Every variety of heaven is now against the good doctor. Stussy points out the Thousand Sunny now that it is in their line of sight. Kaku is more wowed by the Vega Force 1 parked next to it, still awestruck by all this technology. Lucci is quick to bring his comrade back on task. They've already taken out every ship docked at Egghead. They just need to destroy this one, and Vegapunk will have no way to escape. Kaku is eager for the job, grinning as he unleashes a massive Rankaku slice towards both the Sunny and the Vega Force. That's a massive step up from any past use of the technique we have seen, even from a veteran agent. Kaku isn't playing around. In the time between Kaku calling his attack and it hitting the Sunny, a familiar figure slowly wakes up, clearing his head and unsheaths his sword. It just takes him one perfect counter slash to disperse the compressed air that formed the attack. Kaku grimaces at the failure, as Roronoa Zoro nurses his head, demanding to know who interrupted his nap. Seeing the moss-headed swordsman is enough to shock Kaku for some reason. The square-nosed assassin gapes, breaking into a cold sweat. And yeah, abject terror is a pretty fair reaction to learning you have to fight Zoro. But why is Kaku so surprised by this? He knew that Luffy was here. He was right there when Straw Hat was fighting Lucci. He saw Jinbei and Chopper too. Did he not think the rest of these Straw Hats were with them? Back in the control room, the Vegapunks are struggling to catch up with everything that is happening. Events are moving far faster than they could have anticipated. Thankfully, Pythagoras has re-engaged the Frontier Dome. CP0 won't be getting reinforcements from the ground. Still, Lucci's team is already up in the cloud layer with them. The team was too late to keep them out. Shaka works out quickly what Lucci will do, They only have one ship left, so the assassins will prioritize taking it out. Pythagoras confirms that they are already doing so. He has Zoro and Kaku up on screen, the two trading blows on roughly even footing. He's worried that if they don't go and back these samurai up, they're at risk of losing their way out. Lilith is quick to withdraw her rifle, more than happy to oblige. It looks like she's going to get that chance to avenge Atlas after all. Elsewhere in the lab, Luffy's finally found his crew. The Straw Hats are happy to see their captain, but the reunion quickly turns bittersweet. Luffy doesn't seem to get why they have to leave already. He's had a good time on Egghead. He doesn't want to rush their departure. There are probably other cool things to see and more food to try. Usopp is conflicted. He also wants to stay, but knows that it's a bad idea. Nami points out that he's already run into Rob Lucci. He should know why sticking around isn't really in the cards. Luffy admits that he saw Pigeon Guy, but is seemingly about to suggest some reason to not leave anyway. However, he is distracted by a reminder. He was looking for Bonnie. He asks these Straw Hats if they've seen her. No one has, but Robin notes that someone else appears to be missing. Vegapunk. And yes, these two being missing is not a coincidence. Bonnie is already chasing the old man across the lab, smashing things left and right as she tries to catch up to him. Vegapunk Stellar protests that they don't have time for this, and he's happy to explain. Bonnie isn't in the mood to listen. She's got a simple question for the old guy. Can he turn her dad back to normal or not? Vegapunk finally admits that he can't, but protests that there is a reason for that. If he can explain it to Bonnie before she kills him, that remains to be seen. Because before that happens, it's time for us to join the Kid Pirates? Yeah, it's their ship, the Victoria Punk, sailing through some tough waters in the New World. The crew sees a giant fish, one about the size of their entire ship, and the faint silhouette of some great masts lurking through the fog. First Mate Killer checks a small piece of parchment before telling his captain to wake up. They're near land. He needs to know if they're clear to go scout it out. The groggy kid is annoyed to be asked that question. When has he ever refused to explore an island? Killer gets that, but points out that their current location isn't exactly normal. He's convinced they've reached the home of the giants, Elbaf. Kid is surprised by that. He hadn't expected to come here. But because Oda is Oda, rather than giving us a proper look at the island he has been teasing us with for almost 1,000 chapters of manga, we cut away. And cut away to the third plot twist of the chapter. We're back at G14, the marine base near Egghead. And before we see anyone, we hear via Denden Mushi that an unexpected party is getting involved. Yes, Monkey D. Garp himself is on the line to the naval base, seemingly requesting reinforcements. Vice Admiral Dahl insists that they can't spare any of their men. They've been ordered to head to Egghead and back up CP0. And now Garp wants to launch an offensive against a different Yonko? Dahl asks if he's even cleared it with Naval Command. Garp is outright surprised at the question. Dahl sighs. She shouldn't have expected anything different. Ultimately though, Garp simply decides it is fine and tells Dahl not to worry about it. He's already here anyway. He'll just take the men he wants and go. He yells for Helmeppo to get out here. The Marines start to panic at that. Even with the Marine sign on Garp's sails, they're starting to worry that it is a pirate attack. It takes them a minute to work out the design of the ship and realize who has actually shown up. Coming to the window, Helmeppo can barely contain himself, just blubbering about what happened. He tries to tell Garp that Kobe's been captured, and he couldn't help. The old man waves that aside though. He just wants Helmeppo to get on board already. He's down to head to Blackbeard's home turf, beat up anyone in his way, and save Kobe. Helmeppo and Hibari are both in tears at this. The hero of the Marines has arrived. Things are moving fast. We're used to only catching up with ongoing plot lines between arcs, but Oda's making it clear right now that time is a factor. The world won't slow down for the Straw Hats. Will Garp be able to make it out of Hachinosu okay? Will Kuma survive whatever's waiting for him in the shadow of Mary Joyce? And who on earth turned off the Frontier Dome? Throw us your ideas in the comments. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.